This is what actually I call the ambition code. The vertical is about your dream. You remember we talked about before. You can have a small dream, you can have a big dream. Then we have here, this is the do. How much you do, how much a person does. But so there are people that are doing nothing. Okay, this is nothing. This is in the doing, right? This is nothing. Some people are doing something, so a little. There are people that are doing their best, like many of you. And there are people, and there are times, that we're doing whatever it takes. As a result of that, we get 4 different types of people. The mediocre. And by the way, this is the biggest part of the population. Okay, people don't have big dreams, and they don't do a lot for that, which makes sense, okay, for them. Then you have a person like this. They have these huge dreams. He wants to live for 1,000 years. That's quite a big dream. Okay, what is he willing to do for that? Not too much. They're called the dreamers. The next person is the person that has small dreams, but is willing to work very, very hard for that. There's the strugglers, yeah. And then there's the last group here, which those are the people that have big dreams and are willing to do whatever it takes. And this is the ambitious. Okay? For today and for this whole program that we're now designing for the whole year, this is the crowd that we want to work with. If you do have a book or if you do have information that other people don't have, you need to put it out because it might be the last chance for you. But we think we have time. You don't have time to write your book. You have something in your mind right now, in your brain, that the world deserves, and it can be the world, it can be your industry, it can be your kids that needs to be that. I think that you should have your biography written a long time ago. What are you leaving to your kids? What life lesson are you leaving to your kids if today you're going to be crushed with a bus? And many of us are in relationships that are not satisfying us, in jobs that don't satisfy us, with people around us that we don't really like anymore, and a billion other things. Okay, that's what I did with Open Circles. I had Open Circles for 21 years, and it was enough. It was enough. Okay, and I didn't want to continue more with that, and I let go of at least from point of financial, but I think also from point of professional and from prestige and from branding and from a billion of other things. I decided to let it go because, my life is very, very short. I'm planning to live for 132 years, which is 83 more years, but I also need to live for today. If you live for today totally, completely, you go to sleep with the feeling that it's a good day to die. And I set for myself this goal to live 132. Which is a funny number, but for me it was important at that time. And then, only then I started to do the research, how do I get there? So it's not like before that I figured out, you can live to this age, let's make a goal for that. First I made a goal, and then I started to do the research, and I did quite a lot of research about that in the last few years. So I know more about that. I know that today this goal is very small. It's very low goal to what we can live. Maybe not today, but in 30 years, we will have the possibility to live a lot longer than that. And then the trick is, all you have to do is to stay alive for 30 years, but in a good health. So what if they will find the pill that will prolong your life for 25 years, but you can't afford to live? It's not the pill is for free, but you can't afford to live 25 more years. So this is why we're actually doing this combination of the whole program, the happiness, health, wealth, and wisdom, because it's not enough that you will live for 132. If you cannot afford to live for 132, then what's the point? And that's why I think that I do have something to share with you, which most conventional medical professions or whatever it is don't have, because they just have their little area. Aging, by the way, is inevitable. It's going to happen anyway. But decay is a choice. 50% of all illnesses and injuries in the last third of your life, so in the last 20, 30, 40 years of your life, can be eliminated by changing your lifestyle. Not then, today. Okay, if you ever tried to eat healthy and you put in Google, eating healthy or a diet for eating healthy, whatever, you will get all the diets that are actually totally contradicting, right? I mean, the vegan is totally contradicting, or the vegetarian is totally contradicting the paleo, which is all about eating meat, for example, and the vegan, which is talking a lot about raw food, is totally contradicting the Ayurveda that says everything needs to be cooked. And, all the diets are kind of contradicting themselves in many ways, and there's a purpose for that. It sells better. All diets agree is that sugar is not good for you. We know that sugar is not good for us. Okay, we know that sugar is not good for us. The point is that we think that sugar is causing, overweight, and it gives spikes in your energy and the insulin and everything. But it does a lot more than that, especially on the long term. Most people are addicted to sugar. And it's not your fault. It's because they put it everywhere. If you will buy salt from Canada, they have sugar in the salt. Seriously, because sugar is addictive. So eating the cookies or the chocolate or the stuff that you really like today because there's sugar in it and it's tasty is actually you paying a price for that for many, many, many years to go. So my suggestion is when it comes to sugar is, cut it a little bit less. We came up, and I think, as an Homo sapiens, and don't correct me if I'm wrong, but about 160,000 years. So we exist as a Homo sapiens for about 160,000 years. 150,000 of them we were hunter-gatherer, right? We were basically getting our food and living by either hunting for animals or gathering stuff around. About 10,000 years ago started the agriculture. We started to be farmers, if you want, so we became farmers. Agriculture started. And throughout all this history, both as a hunter-gatherer and as a farmer, we worked physically hard. Okay? There was no gyms. People didn't go to the gym to do workout. They basically did workout all day long. Now, it's only in the last few years, very few years, that we got used to this lifestyle that is very sedative and very inactive. So we're basically sitting most of the day or laying down. Because what do you do all day? Or most of us are doing. We're sitting in front of our computer all day. Then in the evening or during meals, we sit again. We don't need to move too much for that. Then we're sitting in front of the television, and then we go lay down in bed for the night. So basically, our body is very, very, very inactive. But how long this exists? Not so long. It's just now that we're having this lifestyle this way. So if we will take 160,000 years as a 24 hours clock, you might have heard this comparison before. Okay, if we take it as a 24 hours day, the 160,000, then the last 100 years when we became inactive is the last 1 minute. And only in the last minute of the day, we change the lifestyle. Do you think your body is already adjusted for that? No, it will take about another 100,000 years to get used to that. So not going to happen in the next 10 years. At one point, when we became, when the winter came or when we became older was maybe 25 or 30, we became older, we became less and less active, right? We couldn't run after food so much, so we need to be more and more sedated, more and more inactive. And at one point, that was giving messages to the body, now it's time to decay. We don't need this body anymore, it already reproduced, and it's not really, can really take care of himself, so let's start the decay process. This is bad news, of course, but the good news is that those messages are pretty weak. They've measured them, and the messages are pretty weak, and you can reverse them, but you need to reverse them like what kids do. You need to move. We are very, very used to think all the time, okay, this is my content, this is my expertise, that's where I should focus. Actually, I'm saying leave that. You already have that. Move to something else, which is a lot more important right now in a sense of your earning capacity or your earning ability. Because when you're learning your profession and your expertise, then you want to get as deep as you can for everything and every single detail, and you want to know everything around it. But when you want to learn a skill, you just want to learn the things that are delivering you the most outcome. So you need to learn how to do that, how to actually take this whole topic, like for example of marketing. Do I really need to know everything about marketing, or do I need to know 1 or 2 things or 5 things that actually will deliver me the most result? And that's different for a person, but I can teach you, and I will teach you, how to make that choice. So the result is that you can learn a super skill within a year. Learn, practice, master. Just know any super skill that you add is a multiplication. So if let's say that the first skill you learned is multiply your earning by 5, the next one, let's say that it's also a factor of 5, it will multiply everything by 5 again. So when I wrote the book and could promote it, so that was kind of a combination, that's 10 times our income. But as soon as I learned how to present in front of bigger groups, that's again multiplied everything. You don't need to know everything about it, just try to figure out what are the things that you need to know in order to support you the best in what you're doing. Investment is multiply what you have and creating more out of it. And it's not necessarily in money. You might change the way that you're doing your life right now in a small way, that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you will come and thank me for probably generating for you a few millions. So there's a cleaning lady in Silicon Valley that is a millionaire today. The cleaning lady was working nights for Google. They couldn't pay her. So they gave her tiny little stock option, 1.6 million. Okay? Now, this is important when you get that, because you have right now knowledge, expertise, and skills that startup companies or startup entrepreneurs could really, really use and cannot afford. Now, what will be the skills or the knowledge or expertise? That's your problem, okay? That's not for now. Maybe you have it, maybe you don't, but most of you probably have something to give them, something that they need. But let's say that one of those companies at one point become big. Either it goes public, like Facebook, or it's been sold for an investor, whatever it is. There is no legal agreement between you and them. You might not get anything from that, but usually gratefulness goes a long way. The whole problems of the internet can be solved if there will be one simple, tiny, little change that somebody will decide that this is what needs to happen. But nobody thinks about it. Why? Because we accept reality as it is. And I will challenge you when you're talking about learning is to start asking yourself, am I living in the world the way it should be or it could be? Or can it be different? Okay, this is something that by starting asking the question, then you can start learning of other possibilities and it becomes interesting. The reason why I want to live for a long time, more than the 132 years, is because I'm curious. I want to see what's happened. I want to see what happens when we start developing colonies on Mars, which is the stupidest thing in the world because there's so much space on Earth. Everybody spends billions of multi-billions to try to fly to Mars when we have deserts and oceans that are just waiting to be populated, full of energy and food and oxygen, everything, and we go out. Why? Okay, I don't know, but nobody's asking questions. We're not thinking. That's what I'm trying to say. Wisdom is not about you becoming the wise guy, but it's about you asking questions. Can I do something that is different than before?